Hello and welcome back to the Beatdown Bandits podcast. I'm Colin. This is season 3, episode 20 of the podcast. That sounds right. I think it's episode 20. Anyway, I am back in my home state from Raleigh, North Carolina, the ALGS. And so today, that's what I'm going to discuss. I don't have my cohort here, Matt. But if you watch the ALGS vlogs that I have, so if not, I'm going to link all 3 of those in the description to this podcast. I will put those all down there. You definitely need to go back and watch them. The first one is kind of boring. It's just our travel down there, but we kind of talk about things and just kind of goof off or whatever. But the second vlog is a bunch of stuff from the event and clips from wins and some pretty cool things. So that one's really worth watching. And then the last one is Matt and I just kind of downloading all of our thoughts and stuff, and some of the things I'm going to kind of repeat today in this podcast that I kind of said in that vlog, but it'll be from the whole event. That was just kind of a brain dump from day 2, which would have been just after really just the bracket stages, and after the first round of the losers bracket. So that's really that was really what that was, but it was like a 35-minute video of just us talking about our experiences so far. So I'm going to do that again today, and just by myself, but then like the full event and do it for the podcast. Right, so need to bust it out for the podcast and get a full ALGS breakdown. So if you were there, let me know. Maybe you'll recognize me. I mean, there was a lot of people there, but we tend to sit around, like we kind of sit in the same spot pretty much every day. The first day we were down like super low, and we were on camera nonstop. And I'm actually going to work on a video of just like clips of us doing stupid things. Like we were doing the robot a whole bunch and holding up our beers, things like that. We were doing like the Vogue a little bit. That was pretty funny. So throw together like a little montage of us being idiots at the ALGS. I don't know when that'll be out. I'll take a little bit of time, but stay tuned for that one. But yeah, we were like maybe 10 rows up, but right in the middle. But the last several days we set up a little higher, because we noticed on day 1 just being down so low, like we're closer to the players and the action or whatever, but we're having to like look up so much, like looking up at the screens to really see the views and really see the gameplay and stuff. So we found going up another like 10 rows or whatever worked out for us. But we sat around like the same people a lot, and got to know a lot of the people, and I talked with a bunch of them, and just amazing people there at the event. So shout out to the fans that were there. It was a great time. But wanted to start off with the venue, and kind of talk about PNC Arena and our like physical experience and logistics aspects of it. First and foremost, like the location of it. Some people will probably be like, oh man, like it shouldn't have been there. It should have been in a bigger city and blah, blah, blah. Nobody, like if you have this in like Chicago or LA or something like that, 3/4 of the people that are going to this are not from there. And we kind of joked around about it. Or like, let me hear you, Raleigh. It's like, how many people do you think are literally from Raleigh at this event? Maybe 5% of the people there. Everybody I talked to was from Texas, and we kept sitting around these kids from California. I talked to people from Alabama, talked to people from our home state, Ohio. Like I was talking to people. I don't honestly know if I talked to anybody from North Carolina. So trying to think, like there was some New Yorkers in New Jersey, people from New Jersey, and was talking to them. But yeah, Texas had a big import. I did talk with a guy from Chicago who drove down. So yeah, there's people from all over the place. So I don't think it matters where you have it. But I think some people were kind of disappointed it wasn't like in a city. The PNC Arena is kind of on the suburbs and kind of northwest side of Raleigh. So you're really like a 10-minute drive to downtown. So you're pretty close. But for me, the thing that I loved about it was that it wasn't in the city. You could easily get in and out of that without having to wait for like a ton of traffic, without having to like having a bad parking situation or whatever. The and like I was talking with this with like a friend of mine who was curious about like, well, what did you do there? I had mentioned the parking and how like the arenas and stuff around here that are downtown, like you are parking at a parking garage 4 blocks away. Where this, like, if you look up PNC Arena on like Google Maps, it is surrounded. It's literally a parking lot. And while like it sucks that there's no restaurants and bars and stuff like right there, uh, it's nice for parking. I will say that much. Parking was fantastic. We paid for the cheapest parking, and we were 30 seconds from the door. I don't know why people were paying $40 for parking. It gets them like a row closer and like on another side where you still have to walk around. I don't get it. Paying for double the cost was pretty much making you having to walk farther because you're on another side. So I don't know. We were literally in the first row of parking every day because we got there at like 11:30, half an hour before the event starts, and we were in the first row. We were in the first row, like behind handicapped. So yeah, the only people that could park closer were handicapped folks. So I don't know. The parking, like I said, was amazing. We waited in line for whatever 25-30 minutes every day. But we just chit chat with people out there. It was hot, but it wasn't like unbearably hot where you're just drenched in sweat. But it was a little toasty out there. Having a little bit more shade options would have been nice, but not a huge deal. Once the doors opened and we were able to go through, the process was fast. By the time we got through and we were waiting out there for a little bit, they had already checked our vaccination cards and IDs, and so we'd get bracelets to make sure we were good to go, and we were able to get in insanely fast, like minutes. We were through there, so that was great. We were like right in front of like the premium seating, so we could like walk through the doors and we're like right in there. So we could get to our seats in seconds, like so shout out to like the arena. We were going in like the season pass ticket holders or whatever, and you're like right in front of where you need to go. So that was great. Food wise, I mean, you expect to be like an arena and you're going to be paying like arena prices for food and beers and stuff like that. It was a little higher than what I was expecting. I've been to like 1,000, basketball games and football games and all that jazz through the years. And these prices were a little bit higher than normal, I think. I don't know if it's just a location or whatever, but costs were a little higher than expected. Not a huge deal. But the bummer part of it was they kept running out of food. I don't think they expected like that many people to be at the event. So I'm guessing they were just predicting like half of this, but like the chicken place, man, like the chicken tenders, I never got chicken. Every time I went up, they were always out. And then like it was like $14 for like 3 chicken tenders and a thing of like waffle fries with it. So on day one, I went up there. I was like, I'm starving. I barely ate today, and I need food to get me through this. And went up and the guy came up. Was like, just FYI, we're out of waffle fries. I'm like, okay, well then can I just get like a chicken sandwich? He's like, okay, well that's $14.50. I'm like, well, you don't have the waffle fries. The combo is $14.50. I just want the chicken sandwich. He's like, oh, I have to charge the $14.50. I'm like, well, that's like, can you give me 2 chicken sandwiches for $14.50? Nope, sorry. So they wouldn't adjust their pricing for not having the food. They're giving you full price for half of the food, and that was kind of stupid. But they kept running out. The pizza place, if you went upstairs, pizza place was taking forever. That though did save my life on Saturday. Saturday we were there for like 12 hours, like 12 to 12. And if I didn't eat that pizza, if that pizza place did not exist upstairs, I don't think I would have stayed the whole day on Saturday. I think I would have wanted to like go back and eat something on on the way back. So yeah, that was frustrating. The Monster Energy drink garden thing that they had upstairs as well. I never even bothered with it because you couldn't leave with them. They kept talking about like, yeah, free monsters upstairs, but you can't be at the event for it. You have to like go all the way upstairs and sit in like a little lounge area and drink the monsters. Like there's a security guard there, like not letting you leave with them. So I never bothered with it. So I never got my free monster while I was there. Let's see, what else with the venue? Like the seats were comfortable. The views, I think, from all sorts of perspectives were good. The workers there were perfectly nice and friendly and helpful. The bathrooms were fine. They were clean. Trying to think of what else. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think the venue was perfectly fine. I know a bunch of people, especially like people who couldn't go, or like, oh my God, I don't want to do it in the United States and COVID and blah, 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 blah. It was great. Everybody was there, had a freaking blast. So I don't know. Whatever. It is what it is, I guess, as far as that goes. It's an international game. So I saw all sorts of people like complaining about like, it sucks that, the time is horrible. It's like, well, it works great for the people, here, but hey, when the event was in Poland or Sweden, it sucks for the other half of the country, or excuse me, other half of the world. Folks in Australia always get screwed. So having a 5-hour dinner, imagine if it was 12 hours, or you had to watch at 1 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock in the morning. That stuff sucks for people too. So I get it, with it being an international game, you're only going to make half of the people happy. So people just need to realize, hey, it's a round planet with 24 time zones. So people are going to have to watch in the middle of the night. It's going to suck for some people, but it's going to be great for others. So, I don't know. It's not a flat planet. So time zones are a thing, right? So I guess get over it. As far as that goes. Sorry if you live, a 6-hour difference on the time zones. It is what it is. You can always watch it the next day. Not a big deal. Let me try to think of like what else. Yeah, people were basically like given the COVID stuff, an issue, but we made it work. There's a couple of people tested positive. It sucks. But honestly, they gained more fans by playing with duos than they ever would have gained before. Like Pulverex, man, like that team just exploded. Was that like Unite, I think, before? So I followed them on Instagram just because they played as a duo. So they're probably still grateful for those opportunities. I'm guessing they're not that frustrated. But for integrity and competitive integrity and stuff, yes, everybody, it would have been awesome if they could have just played behind the scenes, especially for the finals, but it sucked for the people who didn't get a chance to make the finals, right? So yes, it would have been nice if COVID wasn't a thing, but it's the world we live in. So that's just the way it is, I guess. Anyway, moving on. Let me pull up my notes because I don't want to forget anything. Cost of food, mention that venue. So meeting people, right? I'll share a bunch of pictures through this. So if you're not, if you're just listening, be sure to jump back to the actual video. I was able to get tons of pictures with casters and like Nice Wig and Daltouche and some of those guys like that, which was awesome. And we got a chance to chat with a few of them for a few minutes. And that was awesome. It was a great experience to be able to kind of hang out with those guys, and everybody was super friendly. The casters were awesome. I know some people think that some of the casters are a little cheesy and goofy or whatever, but they're just trying to pump up and have a good event. And they brought energy for a long period of time, for over several days. So shout out to those folks. Everybody did an amazing job, and we're very friendly. I did have one, I'm not going to name names, but I had like one bad experience with one of the people, one of the broadcast team, who just like refused to take pictures with people. And I get it. I mean, like I mentioned earlier, COVID is a thing, and maybe people just don't want to do that. But they just like refused, or they just kind of ignored it, like, oh, I'm busy or whatever, and walked away. And then just they're standing there on 30 feet away on their phone. And then you see them like on Twitter or whatever later, like partying and have a good time with, well within 6 feet of people and not wearing masks. And it's like, okay, well, so COVID's probably not the worry. They just don't like to take pictures or don't like to talk with fans or whatever. So that person's probably just gonna, maybe lose a sub. We'll just say that much. If they're rude. But like as I was like walking away or whatever, a guy right down there was like, yeah, he's a jerk. He wouldn't take a picture with me either. And I was like, okay, that's good to know. So yeah, again, not gonna name names, but that was kind of a disappointment, because I kind of thought the person was cool leading up to the event. Maybe not so much now, especially after like seeing like them having videos or whatever. And like my initial thought was like, oh, it's probably they're worried about COVID or whatever. And like, I get it. They don't want to test positive and don't want to miss the event. But then you see them 12 hours later partying with all sorts of people. It's like, okay, whatever, bro. But yeah, otherwise everybody was awesome. Several of the casters, and I'll name names for this one, like Fallout, for example. Dude was awesome. Dude was all over like Reddit, like asking like, what else do you guys want? And what do you need? I got a chance to talk with him for a few minutes. He was like asking my Twitter handles, like, oh yeah, I remember you, man. Like, had these conversations. And so dude is with it with the fans. He loves everybody. You can tell he loves Apex. He loves the event. It brings the hype. Amazing job to Fallout. So much love to that guy. Would spend all day with you, would take pictures, would do anything and everything, sign anything and everything. So guy was running up and down the stands and stuff too. So shout out to him, and all the casters minus one. The teams, let me I'm going to pull up the teams list or whatever. I don't want to like forget a team or whatever. But yeah, shout out to Dark Zero for winning. In my the vlog video that Matt and I did, where we kind of talk about like our predictions of who we think is going to win or whatever, we were a little off on our predictions and our dark horses or whatever, which are statistically is fine. I think I mentioned GMT or whatever. I thought like right at the end, like we were going to have like a GMT or a Space Station Gaming winning, which would have been awesome. My daughter is the Space Station Gaming fan. I love Nasky so much. Like the dude has all the personality in the world. I've been a fan of him since Poland, and for several years now, and would pop into his streams every once in a while. The dude is so friendly, so funny, and I think what was awesome for him is he got tons of exposure at the event. Every time he was on camera, he's just cheesing it up, hamming it up. And I heard people who were like, "Oh, I've never known this guy before, never known GMT. I didn't know anything about him." And like, so he just kind of opened himself up to everybody, and was so goofy. And especially like when they do the listen-ins for GMT, dude was just gaining followers and fans by the second. So like my buddy Matt, who knew nothing about GMT, knew nothing about Nasty, Strafey, and Dell. Sorry, Strafey, but Rambo, knew nothing about these dudes. And it just is like, oh, I love this Nasky guy. This guy is so fun. And so he instantly became a GMT fan. So that was kind of his like Euro team a little bit that he was rooting for. So, but you know, in the finals, GMT just exploding right off of the bat with tons of kills and that early victory or whatever was just awesome. So those guys did fantastic. But yeah, shout out to Furia as well. I don't know why they didn't seem to get like that much love, but probably just because like his Watson is kind of new to the comp stuff, and I think some people even like called him out for it of like, yeah, you know, the guy might be like a pub stomper and a ranked legend, but comp is different, and he just comes in and racks up 1 or 2 kills, right? So you know, shout out to Furia. I mean, those guys look really good. And then when they got that, I think they won game 2, and then like they were on match point and I got second. I think they were on match point, or maybe it was like the game that got them at match point, like where they got second. I'm like, okay, well, you know, Fury would let in points through the finals, so they instantly became the favorite pretty much after like game 2 or game 3 or whatever. So yeah, those guys were awesome. 100 Thieves after like the losers bracket round 2 where they won the back-to-back-to-back. It's like, okay, these guys are the real deal. Naked Cruise the rest of the way through the losers bracket and get in. Those guys showed up. You know, they got like, what did they have? I have to like pull up Wikipedia, but they, you know, they won a game towards the end. It's like, okay, I think they got like a first, a second, and a third, all like right towards the end. So you knew they stepped their game up towards the end of the finals. So like that last game, like I think the only team left at one point was TSM, and it was like Verholz by himself that could like stop it and make it go into the next round. So it was an amazing event there, and especially that end ring or whatever. So yeah, shout out again to Dark Zero. That was fantastic. The FA Kitties or whatever. I know like Hardecki was kind of being like hard on himself on Twitter. Dude, like you're in the freaking finals. I don't know what else like people expect. That was my perspective, like TSM, like, you know, they have a lot of fans, and I get like if they don't win, it's like they're the worst team in the world, right? And people were like all over them, right? So yeah, I got that TSM flag right back here behind me. So I'm gonna hang this up on the wall somewhere. I may have to move something. But I've always enjoyed TSM. I've always felt like a little weird rooting for them because it is like kind of rooting for like the Yankees because they're the biggest team, right? And so it does feel a little weird rooting for them sometimes, but I always find myself pulling for them. Like it feels really good when they win, and especially like in person, that place just explodes, right? When TSM is having, you know, they're having a good game, getting kills. Like there was tons of those like in games where like you just see like 1 or 2 of them, you know, Reps and Hal both had those games where they were just hitting everything and getting kills like late, and the place just erupts when that stuff happens. And so for the energy and the views and stuff, like, you know, that was great. Also, like, shout out to like this water bottle. Like the merch was just okay, I think, but I really like this water bottle. I wore my shirt on like day 2, so I just washed it, so it's still like hanging up or whatever. But I should have wore it for this, but I at least have the water bottle. I got my TSM flags. I got a couple of them, so shout out to like their marketing TSM or their social media guys or whatever, just handing out stuff left and right. Yeah, it just makes them look better when a million people are out there with TSM flags. So you know, good for them. Who am I forgetting? NRG. Shout out to Sweet. I know his teammates. You know, Nathan and Rocker. You know, they're goated. But I know like Sweet gets a little frustrated because they don't play very much. But Sweet showed up. You know, especially, you know, late and then in the finals. So NRG. Not a huge fan of, but I do like Sweet. So shout out to them for showing up. Shout out to Mandy, Scars. Like those guys are so fun to watch. Team Liquid, which was just like sucking at the beginning. made like and then into the losers bracket. Then they kind of exploded. So those guys did awesome. EXO was my favorite after like day 1 and day 2 of like the just the bracket stages. Those guys were really likable, and uh Team Burger, Zeta Division. I mean, those guys are so fun. Um, not a big. I like Noct, and I like the dudes of OG and Skittle Cakes and Duplex or whatever, but just not like pulled into OG. I don't think. Um, but I definitely every time like they'd get into it with Cloud9, or I always wanted to see like Knox just a stage above Cloud9, which was pretty much the whole time. But I think Cloud9 was like 15th and OG was 16th. So OG started off strong. I think they started like 3 back-to-back wins on day 1, like towards the beginning, and then kind of struggled from there on out. So um but very likable guys, and shout out to them. Cloud9, yeah, it's kind of the team that I'm not a big fan of. I know a lot of people are, whatever, and tons of people like Zach. I'm not a big fan of like their dynamic, I guess. So I don't know. Whatever. I'm just glad they didn't win, but I would not have been salty either way. It still would have been a blast to just watch. Um, and like a lot of people were there saying, it's like, I was pulling for 3 or 4 teams to do really well, but when it comes down to it, you just want like everybody to do good, and you just want to see good games. And guy was there that had a sign that was like, I'm here to support all 40 teams or whatever. And honestly, like that's what it was about. Like, just wanted to see awesome games. You wanted to see amazing things. Like when a team was solo or duos or whatever, you're like finding yourself pulling for them no matter who it was. A solo ratting, and they'd show it on screen. You're like, yes, let's go. So those were always fun. Like that was happening like right towards the end of like day 3, like the losers bracket. I can't remember who it was. It was maybe like AIM. I can't remember. I think it was somebody was ratting, and they were like right behind an enemy caustic. That was hilarious. I know like Rambo did the same thing, like hiding out on the roof of the mill. Those were so fun to watch. The rampage glitch, being in the audience and clapping along with the rampage was hilarious. I was also very curious. Like I'm just going off on like these little random things. Like I was like keeping an eye on the competitive Apex subreddit, and I had posted a question in that subreddit. So that was me. I had posted a question about the rampage, like if people could hear it on stream, and if they could hear people clapping. They're like, yes, it was awesome, keep it up. It was great. And I guess I was also talking to, I think it was Dark Zero's coach. I was talking with him on Reddit. I'm trying to think of who it was. Anyway, I'm not going to pull it up, but I was talking with him and about like how much they could hear with the noise canceling headphones or whatever. And it's basically saying like, no, couldn't hear a thing. We could feel it. So Nasky was saying of like, oh, are they cheering for us? It's like because they could feel the vibrations on the stage, which was awesome to hear. And like they could hear like muffled noise with those, but it was like you couldn't tell really what was going on. You could kind of feel the intensity of people cheering. And like, I think Nasky knew like, hey, I'm being hilarious, and I could feel people laughing, and I could look up and see people laughing and cheering. So I think that's probably what was happening. But the coach I was talking to, I forget who it was, and I apologize, but he was saying like they could feel it on the stage, but the players and coaches were not allowed to remove their headset. That was kind of forbidden thing. So that's good to know. Let me see. Am I missing any other notes that I need to talk about? I guess if you have questions for somebody who was there, let me know. But I definitely met I think like couple other people that I wasn't like super fans with, that I'm now like Like these guys are a lot more awesome than I thought. So, thank you for those people. Several of the other teams that I didn't know that much about, I'm now fans of. Like the Pulverex guys, the Team Burger guys. I don't know why I wasn't like a huge fan of like Reignite or now Dark Zero. Like I don't know why I wasn't like big fans of those guys, but I am now. Very likable. So yeah, that's awesome. My dog is busting open the door. She's wanting to come in here and hang out with me. So sorry if you could hear that or you'll hear her clicking around. That's just my dog walking on my hardwood floors. So things I learned, so like some like takeaways for me from the event. There's some like amazing rat spots I was not aware of. I think it was hockey's on the hill of like Storm Point going up like the Stormcatcher or whatever. Like he was using Horizon's gravity lift to like get her or get himself up like on the side of this mountain. Like I had no idea you could get up there. That that was kind of awesome, but man, like that overlooks everything. I also learned like the Valk ult. Like I get it, like the timing has to be perfect with the Valk ult. And like I was talking about this with somebody on Reddit of like TSM's change of like timing. Old school like TSM, if you go back to like Poland or even like the last like I don't know a year ago, like they were like very early rotators and it's like we're gonna find the best prime position. And like I feel like that changed and like Valk ulting into like round 4 into like the middle where you think the ring is going to end is so dangerous. And like a good example was that game I was just talking about with Alliance, which Alliance may have even won that game. I forget who won that specific game, but uh TSM was in the top of command center. Valk ulted from there by the gravity cannon that launches down. They Valk ulted from there and landed right in the middle of that hill in a trench. And I'm sure everybody knows now what I'm talking about. They were fighting 4 or 5 teams there, and I don't know why like Hal likes the low ground so much, and it's worked for them in the past. I know that I think they got 2 wins during the event where they had low grounds. The one there at like Barometer, where they were like playing under the bridge, and NRG was like up top. I think Cloud9 was coming from the side. I think NRG like took out Cloud9. I forget who else was surviving that, but kind of came down to like Sweet and Hal, and I think they played low, so he knew NRG was going to have to drop on top of them, and you just have to hope they hit their shots and have the most health when that happens. And they won that one, and then they won the one at not launch site. What's the one I'm thinking of? But it's basically the needle, and I know like it was T Squared or Fallout. One of the two basically said like they're playing like the Oreo there, and I think it was like 100 Thieves was on it. Somebody else was on it, and TSM was on the bottom, and TSM ended up winning that somehow from the bottom. So I don't know if like Hal's just found like the new love of like not having the high ground and just like tanking the damage, and we'll heal and hope for the best. It's awesome. It's definitely fun to see a team like play low ground and still win while getting obliterated. Like it's awesome to see, but I feel like it costs more. So I don't know, like I don't know if I'm taking away from that, but Valk ulting late just seems like so dangerous to me. Especially like when everybody can see it. I know he got lucky on the one like Storm Point where like North Pad, where like we're able to get to that bunker and nobody just happened to be in it. Like that was pure luck, and I think they were like 4th or 5th in that game. But landing there, everybody, they had to come out first, and everybody was just going to take advantage of them. So that was just really dangerous. But I probably learned a few more like Valk spots. I know, like in my opinion, Hal's like one of those better ones of like finding this weird random ass spot to land, and it's somehow working, and they survive it. Like oh, there's this little pebble of a rock. We're gonna play that. So if they do have to and maybe that's what Hal relies on, is just his like map knowledge and like landing in those insane spots. So maybe that's what he relies on. And that we're just gonna be the better team and out heal people and play smarter from this insane spot. But I don't know. They do really well when they do go early and they make those decisions the fastest. Like there's the game in Fish Farms where they had a good center building and they landed there, and Reps was just like ripping through people with a longbow. They were getting kills, they were getting knocks, and they were taking advantage of having the best spot in the game, and having that cover. So I think that played to their advantage. And then they Valk ulted late, which cost them. I think they decided like, okay, let's Valk ult. And then I think Hal changed his mind, like, no, let's do it late. But then a team landed on their roof, and that's what it kind of ended up getting them killed. So I don't know, like the Valk ulting is such a 50-50. And I don't think I'd want to take like a coin flip, like, well, we're gonna survive it or we're not. And I would much rather rely on like my other movement and Valk ult, as a last resort, rather than like we have to do this thing. So I don't know. I am not a competitive player. I am very average at best. So take that with a grain of salt. But somebody who watched a lot of it and maybe just has that outsider's perspective of being able to watch that, the Valk ults are just so 50-50. If you're not one of those first teams in the end ring, it's just dangerous. So yeah, that was just my perspective. Otherwise, hot hands is apparently a thing. I'm pretty much used to just, especially as a controller player, of just warming up my hands naturally and just playing for a while. I don't know. I didn't know that many people use hot hands like that much. So I may like give that a whirl of like days I'm like, okay, I'm gonna play ranked today and maybe using some hot hands. I don't know. Making my hands a little sweatier. We'll see. Does anybody use hot hands that isn't like playing competitively like that? Apparently the 30-30 and EVA 8 is better than I'm giving them credit for. A lot of people were busting those out. I go through phases with the charge rifle. I know it's obnoxious and toxic, but it does work. So I may need to pick that up more. I learned maybe a month ago that Seer is better than I've always given him credit for, and obviously there's a lot of Seer comps busted out. So I may give Seer a better look, but I started using him a little bit. He's probably like a bottom 3 pick for me, to be honest, but I'm going to start moving him up the reins and maybe phase out Bloodhound that I don't use a ton, but maybe bring Seer into the mix. Competitively and ranked wise, I usually play Valk. I would much rather play Valk just because I do scan beacons, where a lot of like if I'm playing with a random and they don't ever scan beacons if they're picking Valk. I don't know why. They also don't use their abilities, and I don't know why. They just like to fly around, but they never use their ultimate. They never use the rockets. I don't know why Valk is a thing where people just forget to use her abilities. Probably just because she can fly, and people just think that's her ability. Yeah, so I'm going to try the 30-30 a little bit more often, I guess. Use that a little bit more in the firing range. Give the EVA 8 more looks. I don't hit my PK shots for like that crazy damage and the 90s and stuff that those guys do. So I usually avoid it, but I do try to run shotguns a lot, especially in ranked. I try to use a shotgun. Trying to think. I definitely learned a handful of good rat spots. Yeah. I mean, I think that's it. As far as like, biggest takeaways. I definitely got the urge after like day one, like I want to play. And man, oh yeah, for other people there that were in the audience, and I don't know how much of this was on the Twitch stream, but and I'm blanking on the guy's name. But man, he was screaming into the microphone. The guy who was kind of like in between, like every like 3 games he'd come out, but he was really pimping Apex Legends Mobile. Have you downloaded Apex Legends Mobile? Did you know we have Wi-Fi set up for you to download Apex Legends Mobile now? Here's the password to it. So you can get that downloaded. Every 3 games he'd come out and talk about that, and everybody's just like, sighing, and nobody was playing mobile. So sorry, bro. I think I saw like a couple kids playing it on the first day, but that's just about it. Yeah, I mean, I think that's it. I would recommend, that was the other thing, for the venue of like having some more of those charging stations. I can imagine during hockey games, like it's a hell of a lot worse than this. With it being a lot more packed, and sellouts for hockey games, where half of the stadium was shut down for this. I would imagine having more of the like phone charging stations would be a good idea. Something else. Somebody I missed. So I got home and I was kind of like, I was falling behind on social media other than like Reddit. I was reading a lot of like competitive Apex Reddit. And but one of my favorite freaking YouTubers, who I know lives in North Carolina, was there. Was Cartoons. Somebody who, like, when I first started like wanting to do the whole YouTube thing, this was one of those core group of people that I started watching early on, back in like 2013, 14 or whatever, of like, an inspirational type of guy. Dude was there, and I saw the picture when I got home of where he was sitting. I'm like, son of a bitch. Like, I could have just walked up there, went to hang out and met him and taken a picture, but kind of frustrating that I did not get to see one of my favorite YouTubers, but even though he was there. So I wish I would have looked at Instagram a little bit more while I was there. A little frustrated with that. So anyway, I need to get going. I need to eat something. I am starving to death. Thank you very much, everybody, for watching and or listening to today's podcast. Just a good little brain dump of ALGS. But again, if you have questions or want to know something about somebody who was there at the event, or my experiences or whatever, or hell, if you are a caster or a player or whatever and want feedback, that would be awesome too. I would love to have you, or even have you on as a guest. That would be great. I know its chances are slim to none, but yeah, feel free to comment as well. But that was my ALGS podcast. Again, an amazing event, once in a lifetime, I'm sure, for me, unless they happen to have it in a couple years from now and back in the United States. But odds are it's going to be in Tokyo and Australia and England and all over the place for quite a while. So but if they have one again in the United States and it's drivable, maybe less than 8 hours, I would consider it, but probably not going to happen for a long time. So again, if you get in a chance to go to an event, you need to check it out. All right, thank you, everybody. Later.